Okay, boys, set the terror level at code brown, because I need to change my pants.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? And I am back again today for part 2 of the Overlord, the Sacred Kingdom cut content series. So yes, this is part 2 of what's going to be a multi-part series breaking down the cut content for Overlord, the Sacred Kingdom. So if you haven't seen part 1 yet, I highly recommend you go check that one out before you watch this one. Before we really dive in here, there's a couple of questions I wanted to go over real quick, just do a quick PSA on some things that have come to my attention lately. So on my past few videos covering Overlord, the Sacred Kingdom, I've gotten a few questions, and the main two that keep coming up are, number 1, where can I watch this? And number 2 is, why are you making content over something that not everyone can see, apparently? So to answer the first question, other than in theaters, I don't think there is anywhere you can watch this thing. I think the theatrical run is ending soon. To my knowledge, it's not available on any streaming services, and I don't know when it will be available on streaming services. I don't even know if it will be streaming. I have no idea. So it's been brought to my attention that not all my viewers can actually see this thing, which is unfortunate. And that goes right into the second question, is a couple people have been on my case about making stuff or making content over something that not everyone has access to, apparently. I find that to be a kind of a silly question, because yeah, not everyone has seen the movie, but a lot of my viewers have, and they would probably appreciate this content. If you don't want to watch my content, you don't have to. So yeah, it's unfortunate that not everyone can watch the movie. It didn't get aired in their country, or it didn't get aired at a place near them that they could go see it. But yeah, I don't control that stuff, and I'm gonna make this stuff because I want to, and I'm sure people that have seen the movie would like it. So, and those are my viewers as well. If you don't want to watch it, you can wait until you can see the movie and then come back here if you want. That's fine. But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to get those PSAs out of the way really quick. So with that being said, let's go ahead and continue on with the Volume 12 content. Picking up right where we left off, the next scene in the movie that's shown, Holy Kingdom gang actually going into the throne room and meeting Ainz for the first time. Now, I actually thought this scene was really cool in the movie because it's Ainz's first appearance in the movie, and they made it super dramatic. There's a slow shot of him on screen, and we hear the Nazareth theme. It's booming in the theater. It was a really cool moment. However, in the movie, right after Ainz is shown, they immediately cut away to some time later. I bet people that didn't even read the light novel could tell you that this was chopped up. Yeah, in the light novel, they actually show the full meeting with Ainz and the Holy Kingdom gang. So basically what the meeting boils down to is the Holy gang are asking Ainz if he can lend them Momon to help deal with Yaldabaoth. And at first, Ainz says no. And the reason he gives for that is that, Momon is integral to getting the people in my kingdom to accept the new status quo, and so I need him here in order to stabilize my own kingdom, so I can't loan him out to you. Meridius and Gustav aren't cool with that, so they keep kind of probing him for hoping he'll be a little more lenient on that. Ainz first agrees, okay, I'll send him to you after 5 years, and then after an even more probing, he's like, okay, I'll send him to you after 3 years. To them, that's a super long time. That's the Holy Kingdom would probably be destroyed by the end of that time period. Remedios and Gustav are about to give up, but then Nea jumps in, and Remedios is pissed about Nea jumping in because of her rank, but Nea's just please, you have to do better than that. 3 years is not good enough. Because of Nea's request, Ainz actually lowers it down to 2 years, so she actually cut the time down by a third. Nea is shocked that Ainz even listened to her, because she's just a squire and he's a king, and there's a very big status difference between the two of them. I also feel I should mention that pretty much the remainder of this volume is from Nea's perspective. That kind of is reflected in the movie as well. Almost 90% of the movie is from Nea's perspective, which I thought was a smart choice. I should also say that during this scene, we can tell from Nea's inner thoughts that she's already very interested in Ainz. The way he presents himself, his aura, just all of his things, the way he talks, Nea is just hyper focused on those things, and she's just getting vibes from him. So she's already very, very interested in the Sorcerer King just from this first meeting. So the meeting ends shortly thereafter, and we jump ahead to sometime later, and Remedios is giving Nea a lashing for talking out of turn, and we see that in the movie too, but in this scene in the light novel, we get a note from Nea about how much Remedios has changed. Once again, this has come up before, compared to how she was before all the stuff with Yaldabaoth went down. The next scene where Ainz shows up in front of Nea and like requests to meet with Remedios and Gustav, and the whole meeting scene, that's pretty much exactly the same that was shown in the movie. The only difference I could point out is that in the movie they actually show us that the maids were in that fight in Kalishna, and then Ainz in the movie is just like, I want those maids, and that's like his like justification for going. Whereas in the light novel, the maids actually didn't show up in Kalishna, so when Ainz mentions the maids in their meeting, Remedios is like, no, I didn't see these maids that you're talking about. They heard about them from Blue Roses, but since they cut the meeting with Blue Roses out of the movie, they obviously like were like, okay, let's put the maids like earlier in so they can know what we're talking about here. This next scene was divided a little differently in the movie compared to how it is in the light novel. So the next scene in the movie and the light novel is this conversation between Ainz and Nea in their carriage on their way to the Robo Holy Kingdom. However, in the movie, they like kind of cut this conversation in half and moved the second half to the conversation like later down the line compared to where it's all just one big scene in the light novel. In the movie, the scene stops when Ainz asks about her family, and then it cuts to some time ahead when they actually arrive at their headquarters. Whereas in the light novel, it actually shows us the conversation. Nea explains her family and like, oh, I wanted to be a paladin because my mom was one, but I don't really have good sword skills. I'm good with the bow. And those things all come up in the movie as well later on, but they just kind of reordered them, I guess. And also something that happens in the carriage in the light novel is that's when Ainz gives her the bow. And we actually get this really cute picture of Nea. You can see how scared, she's nervous she is about this whole thing. She's like, holy crap. And also this scene is longer in the light novel because it really explains how much Nea is starting to respect Ainz just from the way he treats her and the way he talks to her and the things he says. And she's already starting to think a lot of him and admire him already this early on. And really just from how kind Ainz is being to her is really just a big thing for her, and something she keeps thinking on is like, oh my gosh, he's this great king and he's just so kind and smart. It's a bit more of a gradual increase because we get so much of her inner dialogue and we see her growing feelings for Ainz like just so much more in the light novel as opposed to the movie because we get that inner dialogue. So then the scene shifts to the meeting in the caves we see in the movie. That is pretty much exactly the same. I don't really have much to say on that. This scene is basically just Ainz saying like, yes, I'm not going to take command. And I feel like in the light novel though, from the way the dialogue is like written, I feel like it's shown a little bit more that Ainz doesn't really want to take command because there's always like these brief pauses where Ainz is like, yes, anyway, about that. Because it's all from Nea's point of view, we don't get like that for sure, but like that feeling is there a little bit more in the light novel just from the way the dialogue is written, which I thought was a little funny. So a scene that's cut out in the movie is Ainz then leaves the meeting and everyone else in the Robo Holy Kingdom gang stays. This is where a bunch of the people start asking Nea like about the bow that she got. And I feel like I should also explain the bow. The bow is an Yggdrasil item, and Ainz claims it was made with the rune technology of the dwarves. Now there are runes on that bow, but it wasn't made with the rune technology of the New World. It just has cosmetic runes from Yggdrasil. Runes from Yggdrasil were just cosmetics. They didn't like enhance the power at all, as opposed to like the New World runes, which actually like do something. But he's claiming that it is made with the rune technology, which links into the events of the previous novel because in volume 11, that's when he got all the dwarven runesmiths. So he's just trying to promote the fact that he now has a monopoly on rune technology, and like he's trying to hype that up, which becomes a running gag later on in the arc. So yeah, all these people are asking Nea about the bow, which is exactly what Ainz wants, but Nea views it as like such a valuable treasure that she's like, no, like you can't look at it because like His Majesty trusted me with this. I can't just show it willy-nilly. And Nea's reluctance to talk about the runes and everything about the bow is also a running gag that is, pretty much for the remainder of this arc. And then in this scene, they also finalize their plan, which is they are going to attack prison camps that have been set up throughout the north of the Robo Holy Kingdom, and they're going to basically free the prisoners at these camps and also like raid them for supplies and armaments that they'll then equip their freed prisoners, and then they'll fight with the rest of the army that they got. And then there's a smaller scene that's also cut where Ainz meets with Gustav and Nea after the meeting. And this scene really is just showing how comfortable Nea is becoming around Ainz and how like easy she talks to him and things like that, and is more showing her growing admiration for Ainz. So then in the movie and the light novel, the next scene we get is that first battle scene. In the movie, this is all one long scene. There's a scene where they attack the gate, and then there's the hostage situation, and then they move into the city, and we have that square off with the Bullfolk King. It's all one location, one city, one big scene here. Whereas in the light novel, what actually happens is that the first scene that we see in the movie, that's actually a different location, and then several days pass, and then the second half happens at a different location. So basically what the movie did is they took the events that happened over the course of several days in the light novel and in different locations in the light novel and made them all happen at one time and one place. So the movie also skips a dialogue scene between Nea and Ainz, because Ainz is basically waiting on the outside of this battlefield because he said he wouldn't take command or whatever. And an interesting thought that Nea has during this conversation is that she gets the sense that Ainz used to be human, and because of how comfortable she is around him and how easy he is to talk to, she gets the sense that he used to be a regular person because of the way he just acts and stuff. And she hit the nail right on the head, because he did used to be a regular guy, now is in this undead body and has been thrust into this role. I feel that's interesting because that's how comfortable Nea has become around Ainz, because it started off with he's this mighty undead, he's scary and everything, and now she's thinking like, are you it's hard to imagine you as an undead because you seem so human. That's like how much she has grown comfortable with Ainz over the course of these, I think it's 2 weeks in the light novel. So then the battle starts, and this is shown in the movie pretty accurately. The one thing that changes in the movie is the scene where the Bufolk, which is the goat people, they're called Bufolk. And in the movie, the Bufolk guy holds up a hostage, and everyone, all the Robo Holy gang, all back up. And then Ainz comes in and is just like, nope, and he blows up the gate. Whereas in the light novel, it's a bit worse. What happens in the light novel is the Bufolk person holds up a hostage child, and Remedios is like, oh crap, okay, everyone stop, we're pulling back. And then what the Bufolk person does in response to this is he kills the hostage he's currently holding, and Remedios is freaking out like, what the hell, we did what you said. And he's like, yeah, I got another one. So if you don't want that to happen, keep doing what you're doing. And this is where Ainz steps in and realizes like, okay, yeah, this is bad. If the demi-humans realize that hostages are gonna work to this extent, then nothing will happen, and we're all screwed if we don't actually do something here. And so that's when Ainz comes in and is just like, okay, I have to settle this, and he blows up the gate by sending a fireball at it. And Remedios doesn't like this one bit, because her whole thing is about living up to the ideals of the Holy Lady, and oh, this is not what Her Majesty would want, we have to try and protect everyone, And Ainz basically counters with that, that's just not possible. And he's just like, there's no way you are getting out of this situation with 0 deaths. It's just not going to happen. He basically comes in with that cold logic, and then they move into the city, and we have that whole thing with the father, and the father finding the child, and Ainz admitting yes, I'm the one who killed him. And he has this whole speech about power. It's a pretty dramatic scene in the movie too. I quite liked it. And the scene in the movie is pretty accurate to light novel. I don't really have anything to say as far as cut content. But as for the scene itself, I always get the feeling that Ainz was referring to basically how things were for him when he started playing Yggdrasil versus now. Because Ainz has said several times that when he started playing Yggdrasil, he got PK'd and robbed so much that he almost quit playing the game, and the only reason he didn't was because Touch Me helped him out. And so I think that's what he was referring to when he's just like, yes, if I didn't have power, I would get everything taken away from me. He mentions under his breath when the conversation is, he's like, that's why I will never stop in the pursuit of power, I have to assume there is someone stronger than me out there. And when he says that, I was always getting the vibe that he's referring to other players. He's very scared of that, because Ainz has said several times in the story at this point that he doesn't view himself as like a top tier like PvP character. He said he puts himself at the top of middle class. So I got the feeling in this scene that like his biggest fear is a PvP optimized monster finding him and killing him. And so why he's so obsessed with getting sources of strength is to prepare against something like that. So yeah, a little bit of a deep dive into Ainz's dialogue there. There's also a scene in the light novel where Gustav has talked to some of the prisoners, and the prisoners mentioned that several people had been skinned. And at this point, Ainz knows about how Demiurge has been using the skin of a Belion sheep to make parchment for Nazareth. It's kind of a funny scene in the light novel because Ainz is like, oh yes, yeah, I have no idea what that could be about. He is very obviously lying about that, but I guess they can't tell because he's an undead, which is one of the many times Ainz's undead nature has come in handy for hiding his emotions. Now, like I said, in the light novel, several days pass and then we get another battle where the additional scenes that are shown in the movie actually take place instead of the one scene. So a second battle happens in the light novel, and once again, hostages are used on Remedios and the Roboholy gang, and Remedios immediately capitulates and it's just like, okay, we're retreating, we're pulling back. And at this point, Ainz is getting annoyed. He's just like, come on guys, like we've already done this song and dance. I thought I explained it to you. So once again, he comes in and talks to Remedios and it's just like, hey, we can't do this if you keep like pulling back every time a hostage gets pulled up. And Remedios is pissed and she actually tells Ainz to shut up. She gets so mad, and Nea is like, what the hell, like how could you talk to him like that? And Ainz is just like, look, you have your pretty ideals and that's fine, but if you don't have the strength to make your ideals a reality, all they are is wishful thinking. We have to live in the real world here, and we have to come up with a solution that is actually possible to achieve. And this is the scene where Nea finally like fully accepts Ainz's reasoning. And before, she was basically on the fence because she thought Remedios was right for wanting to save everyone, but she also thought that Ainz was right for saying like, okay, this is the actual realistic thing to do here. And so Nea was kind of conflicted. She was like, what is truly the right way? What is justice? And which is a theme of this whole arc for her. And this is the scene where she really starts to accept Ainz's reasoning. You can wish for things to be better all you want, but unless you actually have the ability to make it happen, there's no point to him at all. And that's the reality that Nea accepts for herself, like in this scene. So then Ainz does the same thing. He blows up the gate with a fireball, and then he releases the high wraiths, which we see in the movie. And the wraiths give off fear status, and so they're basically freezing all the boo folk throughout the city as they run around. Ainz is like, okay, I'm gonna go in, and Nea's like, oh, I'm coming with you. So he gives her a charm that will resist fear status. And something that was cut from the movie is while they're walking in, boo folk that's gone berserk attacks Ainz, and what Ainz does is he grabs it with his bare hands. He grabs its head and he just crushes his head in his bare hands. Super, super metal, and I was disappointed it was cut out of the movie. I was like, oh man, that's super hardcore. So they move to the center of the city, and that's when they run into Buser. And Buser is the king of the Bullfolk tribe. He's called the Mighty King Buser. And this was super disappointing in the movie, because in the movie, this entire battle fight scene is cut out, and I thought that was super lame, because it's not a super long fight. I really don't think it would have taken that much extra effort to put this in there. And number two is they used Buser, and also the scene where Ainz pulls out his sword and is walking towards Buser, they used that as like a promotional stuff. Like they've put him in the trailers and stuff. He's literally in the movie for like 20 seconds. But yeah, in the movie, all that happens is he shows up, he introduces himself, and then it cuts away, and Ainz has won and taken all of his items. So what happens is Ainz actually pulls out a sword, and he decides to fight Buser physically for a while, which shocks Nea because she knows Ainz is a magic caster. So they exchange blows a few times, and then Ainz pulls out a halberd. And this scene is actually illustrated in the light novel. We do get some cool art here. So as you can see, this is the picture that is included at the beginning of the light novel. We can see Buser there and Ainz holding his halberd. It's pretty awesome. And something that Buser actually is a specialist in is he focuses on weapon breaking. That's like something he's very known for, is breaking his opponent's weapons. So he tries to do this to Ainz's halberd while they're fighting, but it doesn't work. And Buser's just like, how did this not work? Weapons made out of magic are supposed to be fragile. But Ainz is like, bro, I'm the fucking sorcerer king. Everything I make is metal as hell. So Buser starts freaking out because he's like, okay, this might have been a mistake here. And then Ainz takes off his ring. We see the effects of this actually in season 3 of the anime. Fight with Foresight when Ainz took off his ring. Ring kind of suppresses his aura, I guess. And when he takes the ring off, Nea mentions like how she could feel like the air, like it's a physical sensation when Ainz actually unleashes his aura, I guess. And this is when Buser really starts needing to pull out his brown pants. He immediately gives up once he realizes like how truly powerful Ainz is, and he's just like, stop, I will give you my items, I'll give you my knowledge on Yaldabaoth's army, please spare my life. And Ainz is like, yeah, true, that would be useful. But then he comments on the skulls that Buser is wearing, and we see this pointed out in the movie as well. Now in the light novel, it's explicitly pointed out that these are children's skulls that Buser is wearing, and so Ainz is like, I don't think Pistonia and Negretto would care to serve next to someone like you because of like how badly you treat children, so I'm just gonna kill you now. And then Buser's like, wait, but Ainz just pulls out an insta-death spell and immediately kills Buser, and everything's over after that. And even Nea says to herself like she couldn't believe like how quickly it all ended, and so she's shocked because this is her true like viewing for the first time of Ainz actually like showing how far above he is from like the creatures in the new world. So Ainz takes all of his items and he's like looking them over and he's like, yes, this is interesting, yes. And Nea says she thinks it's a little cute actually, like how interested Ainz is in items and like his collector side, I guess. She views it and is like, she almost thinks it's adorable, which I guess shows Nea's like switching mindset, because like at the beginning of this volume there is no way she would have ever thought an undead was cute in any way, and yet now she's viewing Ainz like kind of obsessing over magic items and she thinks it's cute. And that's pretty much where we pick up back in the movie. So guys, the runtime is getting pretty long here, so I think we'll end it off there. We covered about another 100 pages of volume 12. We are almost to the end of the volume 12 content, so next time I hope to wrap up volume 12 and also start the volume 13 content. At this point in the movie, I think we were like maybe 35 minutes in. It was astounding to me how quickly they were able to blow through a volume almost. Like I think we got like maybe like 40 pages left of volume 12 before we get into volume 13. It was not a long time before they got through volume 12 in the movie. It was crazy. So in this section of the movie, the only huge omission I would say is the Buser fight. The other omissions mainly come from smaller scenes between Ainz and Nea, and there's just more of those, which aren't integral to the plot, but they add a little something because Nea is the main character of this arc, really. So guys, what did you think of this segment of the cut content? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. You know I love to hear from you all. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see another installment of Overlord the Sacred Kingdom cut content, please like the video to let me know. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know, and it'll let you know when I post in the future. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching till the very end of the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.